Hello, this is Unlimited Splash, where we get better at Limited together through a new draft video every weekday. We are in the last few weeks here of Secrets of Strixhaven. I'll definitely keep playing it at least through the Limited Championship qualifier on the weekend, but today I wanted to talk about one of the other formats that Wizards has put up on Arena. If you're not a Secrets of Strixhaven draft fan, or if your attention is understandably just wandering a little bit as the format grows older, there are two other ways that you can still draft right now. One is powered cube draft, and the other is Avatar: The Last Airbender. I do like cube, but there is tons and tons of extremely high quality cube content out there. So I thought it might be helpful to supplement that by giving you a peek into one of my favorite formats of all time, Avatar. I really enjoyed this format, and whether you played a lot of it but haven't had the opportunity to play it in a few months, or whether you never played it at all, I thought it might be useful to show you a little bit of data, just give you a quick sense for what worked and what didn't in that draft environment, and then showcase how I use that information in a real draft game. So in this video, I'll start with what decks were good and kind of what the shapes of the archetype were in this format. I'll remind you of some of the busted rares that you do not want to be passing and some of the archetype defining uncommons and commons. Then I'll do a real draft and we'll play out one game with my deck. So without further ado, let's remind ourselves of what was good in that format. Using data from 17lands.com, thank you 17lands, there were two clear archetypes leading the pack. One was blue-white, which Arena helpfully reminds us in that box up there was a flyers-based aggro archetype. And very narrowly behind it, white-black, which was nominally a sacrifice deck, but I would say it was very often just kind of white aggro with removal and a little bit of card advantage in the form of clues. So I'm going to use some of my decks that trophied to give you a sense for what those archetypes looked like when they were successful. Here is a blue-white trophy deck I had with, I think, a pretty common plan here. It did have some great bombs, so United Front, which makes X/1/1 ally creature tokens, then buffs all of your creatures, was one of the best bombs in the format, as was Aang Swift Savior, this 2/3 for 3 flash flying that when it enters you airbend another creature or spell. Airbending was one of the new mechanics in this format. You exile a spell and then the person can pay 2 to play it. And then it flipped into some giant 5/5 reach trample guy. So it was an awesome flying tempo piece that also could win the game. And I'll also point out that it had two basically mythic uncommons, Gran, which has become, it became a role player in Standard. A 1/2 for 1 that when it becomes tapped, you get to loot, and it decreases the cost of your spells if you have lessons in your graveyard. And then also Invasion Submersible, the Manowar of the format, pretty darn close to a 3/3 for 3 that when it enters, you bounce a creature they control. Other than that, this deck just had a lot of good enough creatures. So the Otter Penguins are a 2/1 for 1 that can get bigger if you draw extra cards. Glider Kids are a 2/3 for 3 flying. Basically, the game plan was just put a bunch of creatures on the battlefield, have some nice rares, and just try to win quickly with a very classic go wide strategy. And to illustrate what worked with white-black when it worked, here's a white-black trophy deck that I had. This was pretty early in the format, so it does include some clunkers, but it has two of the best rares in the format as well. The Fire Nation Drill, which was a 6/3 for 4 vehicle with trample, that when it enters, you get to destroy a creature with power 4 or less. And the Rise of Sozin, which was a board wipe that then also turns into a creature that can win the game. This deck was actually very deep on sacrifice synergies, but I think white-black didn't need to be. It just needed to play maybe some good rares, but also some cards like Heartless Act, just a very nice removal spell, and a bunch of the pretty good aggressive 1 and 2 drops that white and black got, and you were just kind of trying to get a good aggro start, control the game with removal, and then maybe have some top-end bombs. But while we're talking about blue-white and white-black, here's a third trophy deck that I had that was in Esper, so blue-white-black. This had kind of a third game plan to it. It played some of the best commons in the set. Forecasting Fortune Teller was a 1/3 for 2 when it enters make a clue, which really was an overperformer as a common. And also Messenger Hawk, another fantastic common that people way underrated, a 1/2 for 3 flying that when it enters you make a clue, and it gets +2/+0 as long as you've drawn 2 or more cards this turn. Notice that you can do that by cracking your clue. So this card gives itself at least 1 turn as a 3/2. And then also some very good uncommon. So Foggy Swamp Spirit Keeper was a top pick as an uncommon, a 2/4 for 3 lifelink. When you draw your second card each turn, make a 1/1 colorless spirit that is hard to block. Then I do want to draw your attention to my pick for probably the best card in the whole format, Katara. It is a 3/3 for 5 vigilance. When it enters, you make a 1/1. And then Waterbend X. What that means is While paying a waterbend cost, you can tap your artifacts and creatures to help. Each artifact and creature you tap pays for 1 colorless. Note that you can tap clue tokens to help pay for waterbend costs, which was part of why Forecasting Fortune Teller was so good. And anyways, you waterbend X, creatures you control have base power and toughness XX until end of turn. And you can activate that only during your turn. Basically, this is a overrun that's also stapled to a creature that also makes another creature. It was totally bonkers. And by the way, 3-color decks like this were not too hard to put together because the fixing was pretty good. So you could definitely combine the sacrifice game plan with the flyers game plan and just have a pretty value-oriented, pretty aggressive deck in the Esper space. Okay, so that's Esper. Now, what else is going on? Another pull of the format you could broadly think of as some kind of teamer lessons sort of build. It was notably farther behind in the data. And I actually realized that I never trophied with it, but let me show you one of my more successful blue, red, sort of green-ish trophies, or semi-lessons decks that didn't quite trophy. So for lessons, you really wanted payoffs like Accumulate Wisdom, 1 and a blue for an instant. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. You get to put 1 in your hand and the rest on the bottom in any order. But if you have 3 or more lessons in your graveyard, then you actually get to put all 3 of those cards into your hand. This deck kind of wanted that sort of a card, but just didn't find the payoffs for it. So I was playing Fire Nation Cadets, Firebending Lesson, Watery Grass, so a bunch of good 1-drops or 1-mana spells. And then just a ton of 2-drops. So Union Archers was some 3-1 for 2 that you can land early. I also had the Otter Penguin, basically some okay 2-drops, just trying to be very aggressive. A very, very strong rare was Ty Lee, 2-1 for 3 flash prowess, and when it enters, locks down a creature. And then just a few curve toppers, including the Yonagi, which was not that good, but a 5/5 for 5 flash that if it gets in there at the right time, it can help you draw some cards. And Lost Days, which I think was hugely underestimated, a 5-mana instant that is a lesson, puts a creature or enchantment from the second from the top or on the bottom of an opponent's library. Really what this deck wanted was more Accumulate Wisdoms. I think it maybe would have trophied if it had those, but basically you were trying to pack as many lessons as you could into your deck. You still probably wanted to be pretty aggressive though. I don't think that you usually wanted to build a very, very controlling version of this deck. So I just looked for an example on the 17 lands list of trophy decks of one that did trophy. And here's a good example of someone who built a better aggressive deck than I did with tons and tons of controlling lessons cards. This person had 2 Iros demonstrations, which was a fantastic uncommon. 2 mana to deal 4 to target creature, or you can deal 1 to each of your opponent's creatures. They had a Gran. They had Knowledge Seeker, which was another fantastic uncommon, a 2-1 for 2 vigilance, that when you draw your second card each turn, it actually gets a +1/+1 counter. And then even when it dies, you get a clue. They did have the lessons payoff that I was just talking about. Accumulate Wisdom, draw 3 if you have enough lessons. And then they had 5 of Lost Days. This very good, what I call super bounce spell. Note also Cave of Two Lovers is really good. It's 2 1/1s for 4. Then you get a mountain. Then you Earthbend 3. Earthbend is a mechanic where you turn one of your lands into a creature. And when that creature dies, it turns back into a land. So basically, if I am in Esper, I'm looking for opportunities to be white-based and aggressive. If I am in Teamer, I'm probably somewhere in the lesson space. I might also be in the just play good stuff zone. That's broadly the 2 zones that I would chop the format up into, and I'll give you some guidance about specific cards that you might want to be on the lookout for in those decks. But I'll also point out 2 archetypes that really did suffer in this format were Rakdos. That's black-red. It was nominally Fire Nation aggro. Everything changes when the Fire Nation attacks. As I recall, the issue with it was basically just that it didn't have the late game of the blue-based, more lessons-oriented decks, and if you weren't doing the lessons thing, which you probably weren't if you were playing red-black, then the red-based aggro cards fell short. Those tended to be tied up a little bit in lessons, but black didn't have lessons. And the white aggressive pieces were just better than what you were getting from red when you stabled it together with black. So you'd rather be in like white-black than red-black. That also was kind of true of Boros. It didn't really get what was great about white. I mean, it was still, you still got white aggressive pieces, but the flyers maybe you weren't capitalizing on so much. And at the same time, you didn't really get the most out of your red aggressive pieces because cards like Fire Nation Cadets, your, 1-drop at common, cared about lessons being in the graveyard. And even though white was giving you lessons, it's not as much a lessonsy plan as you might have in sort of the teamer space. Okay, so we talked about some of the best rares in the format already. Aang Swift Savior, the Fire Nation Drill, the Rise of Sozin, and United Front. I just want to draw a few more to your attention. The Legend of Yang Chen might not look good on first glance, but it is extremely good. So first off, you get to exile a big thing that they control. Then you can make both people draw 3, it's an interesting strategy. You often are just not going to make both people draw 3. The thinking is the moment you play Legend of Yang Chen, you're probably ahead, and making everyone draw cards gives your opponent more chances to catch up with you. But there are some cases where you might want to do it. Then finally, it flips into an absolutely ridiculous 4/5. So it's like a delayed 4/5 flyer with an excellent ability on it that when it enters is already exiling something they control. That's just a very, very good card. Legend of Kurik as well. Twice you get to scry 2, then draw a card, which is already nutty, and then it also flips into a creature that can totally take over the game. Ko the Face Stealer is just a 6/6 that when it enters, you get to exile a creature that they control, pretty similar to Legend of Yang Chen. And then it has some other stuff on it, but that's the main thing. And finally, Earth King. This card was so good on stats. A 2/2 for 4, then when it enters, you make a 4/4. Okay, so it's a 2/2 and a 4/4 for 4 mana. And then just in case that wasn't good enough, whenever one of your creatures you control with power 4 or greater attacked, you get to find a basic land card. Actually, that many basic land cards. So it makes a 4/4 that when that thing attacks is probably going to get you a land back, which is ridiculous. Among uncommons, we talked about Gran, Heartless Act, The Cave, Invasion Submersible, Foggy Swamp, Spirit Keeper. There are a few more to know about. So Earth Kingdom Jailer was the jailer of the format. It exiles something until this card leaves the battlefield. Really, really good white aggressive tempo piece. Another white aggressive tempo piece that you really want to be on the lookout for is Aang the Last Airbender, a 3/2 for 4 that when it enters, you airbend another non-land permanent. So it really speed bumps your opponent while putting 3 flying power into play. And also it gets lifelink when you cast a lesson. So really, really incredibly strong racing piece. Water Tribe Rallier was a 2/2 for 2 that lets you keep looking at the top 4 cards of your library and picking a small creature out of them. This card just kind of meant that your white aggro deck would never run out of gas. I happily pack one, pick one this card a bunch of times. And then finally, Allies at Last was a really interesting take on bite spells. The thing is, with Allies at Last, because you choose 2 creatures to deal their power to a creature an opponent controls, it's not weak to a single removal spell. If you have a 2/2 and I shoot 2 different 2-power creatures at it, you can't save your 2/2 just by killing one of my 2/2s. That is the main weakness of most bite spells, and Allies at Last gets out of that jam. Finally, I just want to point out that the distribution of uncommon and common win rates definitely gives you a sense for what's up in the format. So among commons, we have Lost Days, which we talked about. It'll quench ya, is a quench spell, counter a spell unless its controller pays 2. Watery Grasp just locks something down and lets you shuffle it into their library. And Firebending Lesson. So it's actually a bunch of removal spells in blue and red are all the best commons. And if we put the uncommons back in here, you can see that really white and red and blue were kind of on top. I would say, and maybe black to some extent, but really it was kind of like white, red, blue. It was pretty much thought of as more of a Jeskai format. All right, so that's my quick 17 lands based intro to Avatar. Now, why don't we jump into a draft and let's apply what we've just been talking about. I'll do a few games, but for the sake of time, I won't play out the whole draft. Maybe we'll try to go until we've got 3 losses or we get our gems back. Well, Momo is a really fun one. I have a friend who just played a Momo-based standard deck at the regional championship that I was at on the weekend. I'm actually really not sure what I'm supposed to take between Momo Friendly Flyer, which, by the way, it's a 1/1 for 1. Basically, the first flyer you play in a turn is discounted, and when another creature you control with flying enters, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn. I don't know whether I'm supposed to take that or Glider Staff, which actually was a totally messed up uncommon. When it enters, airbend a creature, equipped creature gets +1/+1 and has flying, and equip 2. It's one of these two. I guess I'll go with Momo. You know, it's a very powerful card. It's a little bit cheaper. It can deal damage on its own, but it could very well be that Glider Staff is the actual pick. I don't remember the tech for this format quite well enough to know for sure. I think these are a whole bunch of really crummy uncommons. As far as I recall, May Jaded Edge was pretty bad. A 1/3 for 2 prowess was not really where it was at. Crushing Wave, I believe, was pretty unplayable. I remember some people maybe were coming up with tech in the late format that was making this like edge case playable, but really no. Toph the Blind Bandit. I think this card was pretty strong because when it enters, you actually get to Earthbend 2, and then it has more than 0 power. usually. So you are getting 2 for the price of 1. I think it suffered because the decks that it was in were not so good, but on paper, it's a good piece of cardboard. And then Hey Bye is way too slow. I think it's a 3/3 for 4 that takes time to do some sacrificing thing to make some things bigger. Not really fast enough. Same thing with Avatar Enthusiast. First time flyer is a little understated. I think the best card in the pack, bar nothing, is Firebending Lesson, in my opinion. Deal 2 damage to target creature. If it was kicked, it deals 5 damage to that creature instead. We just saw that this was one of the best commons in the format. Now, I will say, we probably don't want to put these two in the same deck. We just saw that you're not really aiming to be Boros in this format if you can help it. So I will definitely be looking for opportunities to move in one or the other of these directions. Probably not getting married to Boros just on the basis of these 2 picks. I think Airbender's Reversal, if I remember correctly, it was like too finicky. Destroy target attacking creature or airbend a creature you control. 2 mana destroy target attacking creature typically is not that good in recent formats. I mean, you might say a Johnny's Response in Secrets of Strixhaven has been great. So maybe it is good. I don't know. My recollection is this is not so good. And then, by the way, I could be way wrong about some of this stuff because I have not played this format in, when did we get the next one? Like January, late December. So yeah, whenever Lorwyn came out, I think. So it's been a while. It's been like half a year probably since I really knew my stuff. So hey, maybe Airbender's Reversal is better than I'm giving it credit for, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't. Glider Kids, I think, you know, we just saw this in one of the decks that I showed. It's like not very good. You know, 2/3 for 3 flying when it enters Scry 1. We have Owlin Historian, which is actually a little bit better than this in Secrets of Strixhaven, and that's not a very good card. Although I will say, Secrets of Strixhaven is super pushed compared to Avatar. So the same effect in Secrets of Strixhaven might not be good, whereas in Avatar, it's like a power outlier in a good way. All right, so what are we going to take? Well, Aang's Journey is maybe the best card in the pack, but it's for a very specific deck. You search your library for a basic land for 2 mana. If it was kicked, instead you can get a basic land and a shrine, and you gain 2. So it fixes you from colorless. It is a lesson, and it can go in the shrine deck, which was this really funny edge case deck that you could build. I'm going to take the Aang's Journey because Firebending Lesson is a lesson. So I do actually already have 2 lessons. So I could play some kind of a lessons game plan. Here we have a whole lot of good cards. So again, I'm not so sure about each of these uncommons. I don't think any of these were particularly good. Professor Zay was pretty sweet because it would let you return an instant or sorcery from your graveyard, which is always an effect that I enjoy. But I think the best card here is Watery Grass. We just saw that this is one of the most winning commons in the format. And it could go together with either Momo or Firebending Lesson. It is not a lesson, but you could imagine playing it in the lessons deck as early removal. I will say Waterbending Lesson is very strong, and also Yip Yip is very strong. So Waterbending Lesson lets you draw a bunch of cards. Yip Yip is a pump spell, but they're both also lessons, which is very helpful. Okay, what have we got here? So Waterbender's Skin, the Potioner's Trove of the format, was not particularly good, unfortunately. I always like a Manalith, a 3-mana colorless artifact that taps for mana of any color, but this was not the format for it. So what are we going to take here? I mean, Water Tribe Captain was okay. It buffs your creatures. Earth Village Ruffians, Wandering Musicians, Deserter's Disciple, Platypus Bear. These are all pretty bad cards. Maybe the best card in the pack is Corrupt Court Official, but I don't really want to end up in Rakdos. So I might just take the Kyoshi Battle Fan. It's a bit of a non-pick, but it is a 2/1 for 2, and when that dies, you get to start moving the equipment around. It was like a okay card. I'm really resisting the temptation to do the Shrines thing, but Kyoshi Island Plaza is not even a card that you really want in the Shrines deck, actually. So the Shrines deck, these Shrines like do things based on the number of Shrines that you have in play, and it would be a 5-color deck or a mini multi-color deck at least, where you're playing a bunch of these different Shrines, and they're each going to have additive effects based on how many Shrines you have in play. Kyoshi Island Plaza didn't really matter for that deck, honestly. It's kind of too little for the Shrines deck to be particularly good, in my view. I think I'm just going to take... It could be maybe it's Cycle of Renewal, just to go... So basically the decision was, am I leaning towards a Lessons deck, or am I leaning more towards maybe the Momo direction? I've seen essentially no evidence that white is open. I think people might be remembering that it was the best color, in my view, one of the best colors at least. But here I could get so like Cat Owl could be nice with Momo, right? Because if you have a Momo out, Cat Owl comes down for 3. But otherwise, Cat Owl is not very good. A 4/4 for 3, rarely good in Magic unless it has quite a good effect. Sabertooth Moose Lion and Canyon Crawler. I actually liked the Canyon Crawler, but I think I'll take the Rumble Arena here. It helps me splash. Rumble Arena plus Cycle of Renewal, and we're actually starting to get somewhere. Swamp Snare Trap I thought was going to be good, but it is so awkward. It gives a creature -5, -3. That actually did not kill a lot of stuff that mattered in the format. Like imagine trying to put it on a Canyon Crawler, for example. I think I'll just take another Rumble Arena. And now it's actually looking like we're brewing some kind of a multicolor situation here. I guess I'll take Omashu City because I have Cycle of Renewal and I have Firebending Lesson. Okay, so I don't mind this at all, actually. I think there are a lot of fun things that you can do with many different colors in this format. And I will say this is also a format where, because it was out and I played a lot of it, I kind of know what I want, like the cards that I'm interested in running in a many color deck. And so it's not like early in the format when you don't really know what to take for your multicolor deck. I kind of get it. Okay, Insurrection. What was this? Untap all creatures and gain control of them until end of turn. They gain haste until end of turn. Yeah, that's not a playable card. I could have another Momo, though notably Momo is legendary, and it also definitely seemed like white was pretty darn cut. I do recall that Hakoda was a pretty good rare. So 3/5 for 4 Vigilance. You can look at the top card of your library at any time, and you can cast ally spells. Now note that allies was a very well supported creature type. So here's an ally, here's an ally. Basically, you get to play all of your allies from the top, and then you can sack it to give all your creatures +0/+5 and indestructible. This was a very nice card advantage engine. I don't really know what exactly I'm building around. I would love to see like a multicolor payoff here, but I can at least take Hakoda, unfortunately passing the Momo. But I don't think that white aggro is where it's at, but maybe there could be some white component to my plan. I think it's at least worth speculating on. Okay. Hermetic Herbalist, so this is very interesting. You can add 2 mana in any combination of colors to cast a lesson. I remember I really wanted this card to be better than it was. It's a very me style card, but this would be a very much like Teamer Lessons kind of a pick. I could also take the Unagi, which was fine. I suppose, is there any chance I end up blue or white blue? I really don't think so. I really don't think that that's going to happen for me. And especially if I'm splashing around with Cycle of Renewal, Double Rumble Arena, Omashu City, Aang's Journey, all this kind of a thing, then I really don't think I'm supposed to be taking double blue pipped cards. So let's see if we can find a kind of Simic core to our deck. Bribery, no way. Oh, I love that effect, but it is not really where you want to be in limited. So I'm very happy. Probably, actually, if you're drafting with money on the line, Agnakella is where it's at. A land that just lets you start looting, but I love Spirit Water Revival. This is a spell that if you pay 9, you get to draw 7 cards and have no maximum hand size for the rest of the game. If you draw 3, it just lets you draw 2. It just becomes like a divination. Now, I actually resolved this effect, draw 7, in a regional championship qualifier, which was the sealed game that got me to the regional championship last weekend. So I'm very fond of Spirit Water Revival. I had some really, really good experiences with it. I got so greedy and I got so paid off in high stakes Magic with this card. I actually got to draw 7, beat my opponent in the semifinals, and then go on to get the qualification and go. So definitely want to relive those days. And yeah, let's take that. And here I'm going to take a Forecasting Fortune Teller, one of the best commons in the format in my view. 1/3 for 2, then when it enters, make a clue. The clue can be used to waterbend. So for example, you could tap to pay the cost of your Geyser Leaper. This is a waterbend effect. So if you just have some random clues lying around, you can pay way less than 9. That's what makes this card actually castable. So getting some random clues. And by the way, that's also something that makes Kyoshi Battle Fan a whole lot better. It can be used to pay waterbending costs. Here we have the Walls of Bossing Sea as our rare. 8 mana for a 0/30 defender. Other permanents you control have indestructible. I guess that's a commander card. It's definitely not for draft. As much as I would love to find a way to break it, I think that's beyond my powers. However, we do here have an Iroh's Demonstration. Again, one of the best cards in the set. This is deal 4 for 2, and it's looking like we could definitely just be taking up the Teamer Lesson space, and maybe we're splashing even for Hakoda. It's very possible. I think Leaves from the Vine was unplayable. Mill 3, then make a food, put a +1 on 2 creatures you control, then draw a card if there's a lesson in the graveyard. This is a very value-oriented card. I definitely don't hate it, but it ended up being very, very bad in the data. I think basically it was just too slow. Here we have a choice, I would say, between Professor Zay, the O3 that lets you start pilfering and lets you loop instants and sorceries, and Kyoshi Village, which would help us splash for our Hakoda. I'm going to take Professor Zay partly because you can do things like bring back a firebending lesson if you need to, but you can also get really greedy with it by playing Spirit Water Revival for 2, draw 2, and then looping it with your Professor Zay, bring it back from the graveyard. Here, I might actually take Boomy as a top end finisher. I think Gather the White Lotus is probably the best card in the pack, but I think white aggro is like definitely a ship that has sailed for us. Boomy is not very good, but if you have, it's just too big of an investment in a card that doesn't really have strong effects on entering. But the thing is, if you have a lot of lessons, it can be a way to finish out games. So I don't hate it from that perspective. Serpent of the Past was really, really bad in the data, but I actually think we might be lessonsy enough that we could run it. The problem is the double blue. Maybe I'm supposed to take Union Archers, but I'm inclined to think I'm base green blue splashing red, so I don't really want to invest in super early red plays. Wow, this is really painful. I mean, I really want the meditation pools, but I think I'm just supposed to take Idle Quenchia. I think it's good enough and I already have enough fixing that I should just take the really, really, really strong lesson, one of the best commons in the format, and a card that I really want. And I could take Bender's Waterskin to make my mana a little bit better, but maybe I actually do in this case just take the Union Archers. I really don't want to have to play the Waterskin. There's enough random dual lands running around that I hope I can avoid that. This card I actually think is quite good. You just really want to have a lesson in the graveyard when you play it. Dragonfly Swarm, it's the wee Dragonauts of the format for old people like me. Here, I guess I'll just take Boomy Bash. The problem with Boomy Bash was it deals damage equal to the number of lands you control to a creature, but it's not a lesson, so it doesn't really have a home in a deck like this, which is really awkward. I do like Platypus Bear partly because I love platypuses, but it's not really what you're looking to play. And wow, we got what a pack we have here. So as I showed you, Legend of Kuruk is one of the best cards in the format. Very happy to hopefully get some opportunities to show you why that's true now. And South Pole Voyager was also incredibly strong. Again, the white aggro plan, which my pack 1 pick 1 would have led to, but we just got cut on it pack 1. This allows you to draw a card if you play another ally, if it's a second time the ability has resolved. So basically, you play this, you can like triple spell with this. Or no, sorry, it's when this creature, so you can double spell with it. You play this one, you gain 1, then you play another ally, you gain 1, and then you draw a card. So it's really easy to double spell and just replace the South Pole Voyager, and then it is a must answer threat. There was a lot of other good stuff in that set too, and wow, we just got past Aang Swift Savior, another card that I told you about. Fantastic, fantastic rare. And it turns out maybe I should have been white blue because I just got past the best white blue rare in the set. Really one of the best rares in the set that happens to be white blue. And I want to play it. I want to play it. It's just so good. I think I want to play it. So maybe I'm cutting. What if I end up white, blue, red? Is that doable? My green is very weak, right? It helps me splash, but it's very weak. So what if I'm in blue, red with a white splash? Could be something like that, right? Blue, red with a white splash. I think I like that better. I really want to play Aang Swift Savior. I want to play Legend of Kuruk every time I see it. And wow, now I'm getting the lessons set up. Okay, now we're getting a Teamer Lessons card after getting past Aang Swift Savior. And they didn't take another rare out of the pack, I think, because there was a Raven Eagle in there, which is a fantastic black bomb that I didn't even get to talk about. This is what happens when sets are on Flashback. The signals are just impossible to follow because a lot of people are playing the set for the first time. Very glad that they get to enjoy it. So that's awesome. If that's you, 2 thumbs up, but it does make signals really, really hard to follow. Iroh was not that great in the first place. The thing is, Gran is actually a better card than Iroh. I don't have time to read this guy, but it's like a, if you have a bunch of lessons going on, you probably win kind of a thing, but really hard to cast. Gran goes in any blue deck and is fantastic in any blue deck, especially if you have some lessons, which I do. So I will definitely be playing Gran. Here, maybe I take another Rumble Arena, but I don't want to play too many colorless lands. I actually think I might just play Barrels of Blasting Jelly. It will let me splash into Aang and Hakoda. Is there any way that I'm actually base white blue or something? The other thing is I'm a little bit worried that I might end up low on playables. So I do not think I'm base white blue. I think we're basically on a kind of a weird plan of like, let's try to get down some lessons and some cards in red and have some good blue and red removal, and then win off of white cards. So white is coming down later than blue and red. I'll definitely take a Watery Grasp here though. That's going to go well with my blue and red removal plan. Don't get suckered by this card, Secret of Bloodbending. This is a complete meme. You can waterbend 10 and you get to mind slaver your opponent. I actually did it at Friday Night Magic to my poor friend, much to his chagrin. But it is a total edge case, and it took me like 35 minutes to set that up. So I would not recommend it. I will take the Otter Penguin, which I mentioned. It's like a serviceable 2-drop, but being past one of the best commons in the format really helped. So thank you for sending me a Watery Grasp, my dear friends at the table. Okay, well, hey, you know what? It's a rare in our colors, pick 8. I'm not going to complain. The last possible slot that we could see a rare. When it enters, you discard 2 and draw 2. When you cast an artifact or less than, put a +1/+1 counter on it. In this format, a 2/2 for 1. Sorry, a 2/2 for 1. A 1/1 for 2, and it's 2 different colors, so it's kind of hard to cast. There's just a little bit too. It was just not quite enough, right? But in this context, I think I'm really happy to see it. Wow, we're wheeling Air Nomad Legacy. Not that this was a great card, but it buffs all of your flyers, and I started out wanting to be white-blue flyers after taking Momo, so that hurts a little bit. I guess I could take How to Start a Riot, which is a lesson. I'll just take the Water Skin in case I want it. Here, I'll take the Waterbender. I actually don't hate this card at all. Perfectly happy to be playing this card. It might be better than Serpent of the Past. Maybe not. It's better than Geyser Leaper though, right? So I'll happily take this card. You know, if you have some clues lying around or some barrels of Blasting Jelly and some Kyoshi Battle fans, you can easily flip it into being a 5/2 and make it an attacker that really matters. Otter Penguin could be better than something, maybe. I'm not so sure what. Yeah, probably not playing that Otter Penguin. If we wanted to be even faster, we could cut the flexible Waterbender for it, I suppose. Okay, so my deck, I'm not super happy with it. I might just cut one Rumble Arena and go with 8, 7, and a Plains, something like that. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4 white sources because of Aang's Journey, Barrels of Blasting Jelly, Rumble Arena. And yeah, maybe something like this. So 4 white sources to play Aang and Hakoda. Is Hakoda worth the splash here? How many allies do I have? 7 allies? Yeah, I mean, 7 allies, you say. What types of creatures are we looking at that we could play off the top? It's actually pretty good, right? Is this a creature? That's funny, yeah, but only on a technicality. I don't know. Maybe I cut Hakoda. Do I have more stuff that I could play? Cut Hakoda for like an Otter Penguin. Is that a good deal? Nah, not really. And I'm still short 1 card, so I guess I'll play Hakoda. No, this is 14, 15. I need 1 more blue. 8. This is 9, 16, and 17. I'm putting in an extra blue because I have a bunch of early blue creatures, like Gran on 1 is really good. Also because Legend of Kirk is double blue and Serpent of the Past is double blue and Spirit Water Revival. So I really want to have like 9 blue sources, which I do have now. Also Barrels of Blasting Jelly. I don't think there's anything else that I should cut Hakoda for. Not Boomy Bash, not the Water Skin, not Geyser Leaper. Okay, all right. And oh wait, sorry, I'm 1 card over. So let's cut Hakoda. Yeah, I like that. And then do I cut like barrels or something? Maybe Aang's Journey is like not good enough. I think it's good enough. Should I be daring? Cut an Otter Penguin and play Hakoda? I kind of like that. No, because I have a Legend of Kirk as well. By the way, I usually cut out all of this vacillating on my mana base, but I kind of get the impression that people really like the details. You're Magic card nerds after all, so no offense. But yeah, let me know if you skip this part and don't find it interesting. On the flip side, let me know if you do find it extra interesting. Okay, so maybe if I need to get faster, I can cut the Waterbender. I'm going to go with this. 1, 2, 3, 4 should be enough. White sources. Also, Soka helps me draw. Gran helps me draw. Forecasting Fortune Teller. I just have like a lot of incidental card draw. Spirit Water Revival for that matter. I have Pilfering, Professor Zay as well. Legend of Kuruk. Yeah, okay. So I think I can be a bit bold with my mana choices, and I think Hakoda is going to be worth it. Am I leaving any allies on the sideboard? Nothing that I would want to play. I mean, Momo, but this is not a Momo deck. All right, so let's see how we can do. By the way, if you like this approach to drafting, which combines data with actual gameplay that shows how I use the data for informed decision making, then make sure that you are subscribed to my channel on YouTube. I am just about 40 subscribers away from hitting 2,000. As soon as I hit 2,000 subscribers, I am going to do a feedback video where you can submit a draft log from 17 lands, and I am going to give you feedback pick by pick on your draft log. If you are one of the people who subscribes off of this video, the last 40 people who popped me up to 2,000 subscribers, comment and let me know, and I will include you in the draft review. So if you want feedback on your draft, go ahead, click subscribe, comment, and let me know that you did it. All right, on to game one. I really liked this set. Oh, look at this hand. This is too awesome. I mean, if they have a highly aggressive hand, it could be trouble for me. But look, I mean, I think with... So I like can start out by... Probably I want to open with a island or a mountain in case I draw... The one that pilfers, Sona or something. Sorry, I do not know anything about the Avatar show, the lore. So I'm always getting these things wrong. Soka, is it? So like... I think I start with an island so that if I draw that one, I can play it because it costs blue and red. But here I'll just play the Union Archers. Probably pilfer the Kyoshi Battle Fan. I don't care much about that. Then next turn I get to play Rumble Arena and I have Aang up, then into Legend of Kuruk. This is one of the best setups that you can have in the format, period. Seriously, this is an absolute dream. Maybe that was not a great trade. I don't know. I think I really do want to hit my lands though. And I'm already representing 3 power, so I kind of feel like I'm in the driver's seat. I love the frog minstrel, by the way. That's a cool one. I am playing right after the rank reset. Oh, shared roots. So yeah, that's a familiar one if you've been playing some Strixhaven. I'm playing shortly after the rank reset. I mean, not like immediately after, but 2 days after. Probably put this just right on the bottom. I'd say that's probably enough lands. And so people who are currently platinum probably were just mythic. So I'm guessing this is someone who really knows their stuff. So basically whatever they play, I'm going to airbend. I think with Aang, you really don't want to wait to play it. You might as well just play it when you can. It's mainly good for the tempo. And then the whole like flip it and, you know, get a giant guy and, you know, go crazy on them. That is like icing on the cake. That's not really something that you need to have. And especially going turn 3 Aang into turn 4 Legend of Kuruk. Okay, so they can actually recast their Badger Mole Cub, but I definitely think it's worth asking them to spend their whole turn on that. Yeah, they can recast it because Airbend is too colorless. They didn't need their specific colors to do that. So I'm definitely going to go ahead and play Legend of Kuruk. I guess I could Firebending Lesson here. Is there any value to that? No, I think I just want to land Legend of Kuruk because it's just like this gives them so many different things to think about. I think being offensive is probably good here. Watery Grasp. Yeah, I mean, it's not like that's going to be my draw for next turn. Legend of Kuruk lets me draw immediately. So I'm completely in the driver's seat. I don't think I need to be like slow and ponderous about this. Right, like I just get rid of their Badger Mole Cub for some random 3/1 common that I happen to have lying around. And then next turn, I'm going to get to scry and draw a card. Basically, they have 2 must-kill threats now. They have to deal with both of these things or play their own like top bomb in the format. But these are 2 of the absolute most winning rares that you can have. If I were them, it would be a bit of a feels bad moment unless they're looking at some pretty sweet stuff in their hand. Water Tribe Captain. Okay, that's not going to do it on its own. All right, so Legend of Kuruk. I guess I like both of these draws, right? So the good thing about Forecasting Fortune Teller is that it makes a clue, which gets me 1 turn closer to just dropping the Aang Swift Savior. So I'm going to go in with this guy. I will play the Forecasting Fortune Teller probably. So next turn, this is going to flip. And when I cast a spell, I get to make a 1/1, etc., etc. I can hold up Barrels of Blasting Jelly and pop one of their creatures if I want to, but basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Playing the Forecasting Fortune Teller right now means that I am going to be able to waterbend Aang next turn, so having a bigger board sounds better. And then probably I just want to hold on to my extra spells after that, because after Avatar Kuruk flips, I'm going to get 1/1 equity out of those spells. Like each Firebending Lesson is going to have a 1/1 attached to it. I wonder what they're thinking about here. It looks like they were highlighting my Forecasting Fortune Teller. Toph the Blind Bandit. So they're going aggro on me. I do need to make sure not to just get killed here. That's definitely a consideration. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I could technically pop my clue here because barrels of blasting jelly. Oh yeah, 10. Barrels of blasting jelly is going to let me waterbend. I'm counting the number of things that I can waterbend with. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 as soon as this flips into a creature. Can I block if they attack me with a bunch of stuff? Maybe if they just attack with Water Tribe Captain, that means that they have nothing relevant here. Okay, so they're at least bluffing that they have something. I'm gonna go to blockers and I'll just block this 2/2 with my 1/3. So I think I actually do pop my clue because then 1, 2, I don't really want to have to tap down Aang. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 is enough to waterbend. Tap down everything except Aang. Okay, so go to my turn. This flips. So I get to bring back the 1/3. Now I'm not too concerned about getting overrun because I get to make a 1/1 every spell I cast. And they can block. Technically they can't be blocked except by spirits. And by the way, there are some random good spirits in this set. And I'll probably tap it like the following. I'm going to go 1, 2. Actually, interesting. You know, the funny thing is I actually watery grass the wrong thing. It doesn't tap the Toph. That was definitely a mistake. Watery grass doesn't tap Toph. It only keeps something tapped, but I can waterbend the Toph away if I want to now. So I think actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think that I do waterbend Aang. I guess I could shoot the planes, make 2 1/1s, waterbend Aang by going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then I have 1 blocker. I'm leaving myself a little bit vulnerable if I do that. So I think I'm just going to go to attacks with Aang and just leave some stuff up here. And then next turn, we'll probably just get a bunch of blockers and make them huge. Barrels of Blasting Jelly could be activated, it's true. But most likely I just want to cast a Firebending Lesson with Kicker and kill like their Water Tribe Captain and then use my 5 permanents to shuffle away Toph. That's my idea. And then they're only representing 5 damage, which is really not that bad. Boomerang basics on the Toph. So let's go ahead and do this right now. So if I shoot this, they cannot save it, I don't believe. I get to make a 1/1. So attempt to kill Water Tribe Captain. If they want to, they can tap down one of their creatures to buff their team. Boomerang basics, if this resolves, will let them draw a card, which I really don't want. Oh yeah, because of Great Divide Guide, they can tap it. So they're floating a mana, but they're not buffing their team. Interesting. Well, okay, I'm just gonna get rid of everybody. I don't think that they can kill me here. I don't remember a mega overrun in this set that will triple the damage of each of their creatures. Boomerang basics is gonna fizzle, which is a really nice value for me. And we'll see what they've got. I don't think there's a board wipe here. I guess technically they could play Rise of Sozin because of Great Divide Guide. Oh, they have Zuko's Exile. That's funny. This was not really a playable card because it's so slow. But hey, it certainly earned its keep here. I'm not going to fault them for playing it. I do remember some really good players were playing Zuko's Exile by the end because I think mainly because the mana requirements are just so loose and you could get it like 13th pick. So it was removal that could go in any deck. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and flip this guy using no creatures. Yeah, keep a mountain untapped. That sounds good. Thank you. Next, and then probably just go in with the team. I think this is a pretty sticky situation for the opponent. Maybe this is a little bit too aggressive. No, it's lethal, so they're actually forced to chump with the planes unless they have something to do with their 1 mana, which is always possible. But I'm not expecting it here. Firebending Lesson only hits a creature, unfortunately, so I can't just shoot the opponent here. But all right, let's see what that last card is. Hopefully nothing too fancy. That would be unfortunate. If it is a board wipe of some kind, I do have a clue. Hopefully it's not Rise of Sozin on the splash. That would feel a little bit bad. The other reason that I'm trying to be really... Oh, United Front. That's a very good one. Let's see. Put a counter on each creature you control. Okay. I'm going to keep my Firebending Lesson back. Yeah, that's a very good one. Although I will say none of them are spirits, so I don't believe that they can block my spirits. These ones can only be blocked by... They can't block or... Oh, they can block. I was actually wrong before. Yeah, another reason I'm explaining everything very carefully is reminding myself of what's going on in this format and hopefully making it clear to you what's going on with a whole bunch of unfamiliar cards. But yeah, so my spirits, I was wrong. I thought for a second or earlier that they could block, but it turns out they can't block or be blocked by non-spirits. That does make more sense. I think as I was saying it, I was doubting myself. But okay. A very nice win and a demonstration of why Legend of Kuruk and Aang Swift Savior are such strong cards. I'd say I have time for one or two more, so let's run out another game. But because of the intro, I think that if I finish this entire draft, this would be like a 2-hour video. So well, we'll do one or two more games. All right. Oh, I love this hand. I mean, I don't know if it's very good, but it's the kind of a hand that I like to have. Let's just put it that way. I would love to Spirit Water Revival for 7. That would make my day truly complete. Okay, down comes a mountain. Hakoda looking really bad here. Really bad here. For almost all of the set, I thought this guy was called Hadoka, but it's Hakoda. All right, it's the Is It Mirror match. Let's go. Which one would I rather have quenched? Probably Professor Zay. I would rather have that one quenched. Okay, they don't have quench. Seems like they do have Firebending Lesson, though, from the way that their priority hung at the end of my turn. So I have them clocked for Firebending Lesson. Let's see if that's correct. Obviously, they could have a lot of different stuff. Waterbending Ascension, very, very powerful effect. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, put a quest counter on it, then if you perform or you draw a card, and you can make yourself unblockable. Obviously, that has some power to it, right? The thing about it is, it was way too slow. Okay, it's definitely Firebending Lesson. Good thing all of my cards are good against Firebending Lesson. Yeah, so I might just pilfer the island at the end of their turn, something like that. It's either the island or Hakoda. I kind of want to hang on to the Hakoda Dream for a little longer because I have so much card draw. Should eventually find a white source. I do need to get aggro at some point. Oh, UA, yeah. So 3/3 for 4, it's just not good enough. So you can cast a non-creature spell from your hand without paying its mana cost. I think it's mainly like a commander card. And I'm about to show you why. Basically, efficient removal gets rid of it so well. Oh, Legend of Kuruk. I have like 4 different ways of getting rid of it. Which one do? I really would love to Legend of Kuruk here, but I really don't want them to get to UA or UE. Apologies to all of the Avatar fans. I don't know what it's called. I'm going to probably... I guess I could Iroh's Demonstration and then crack my clue. Is that good? Maybe I should have cracked the clue first in case I drew a plains, but I wouldn't have been able to play anything differently if I did that. So the question here is Watery Grasp and then 3 mana Fortune Teller and the clue to waterbend it into their library, or Iroh's Demonstration and crack my clue. They're both mana efficient. I guess I'll just do this one. And I'm going to get rid of it before we go to their turn, because otherwise they would be able to potentially, I don't know, but very possibly they could activate it. So now, even if that creature comes back into their hand, they do have to spend another turn playing it, and then a turn like getting ready to actually activate it. I would like them to tap down so that I can play Legend of Kuruk, however. Here, I think I'm definitely going to pitch the Hakoda. Just my luck, I'm going to draw plains immediately, but I don't think I have the luxury of having dead cards in this situation. Technically with Professor Zay, you can also throw away a sorcery. Oh, okay, well, let's pitch Hakoda right now. You can also throw away a sorcery and then get it back if you want to. But I'm not throwing away my Iroh's Demonstration, no way. So Professor Zay with some pretty good value, and they are tapping out, which I really like. Oh, they did this. What did I just say? Of course I get the plains right after pitching Hakoda, but you know, whatever. So they put the lesson in the graveyard so that Dragonfly Swarm, when it dies, they'll draw a card. But little do they know, I do have a Legend of Kuruk, which is quite a busted card. Oh, I can have my own Dragonfly Swarm. Do I have a lesson in the graveyard? No, but I can easily solve that problem. So let's put the land on the bottom, I think. I think I'll find enough of those if I want them. Let's get the Dragonfly Swarm. You know, I actually played this wrong. I should have played the plains first, so that I could hold up Firebending Lesson. So my bad. That was definitely incorrect, but hopefully pretty subtly incorrect. Hopefully. All right, so I get to scry 2, draw card. Probably just put both of those on the bottom. I don't think either of those is any good for me right now. Also, because I would really want to play the firebending lesson only after Legend of Kuruk flips into Avatar Kuruk. So I'll go ahead and play this. Then I guess I attack first, I suppose. I could kill Dragonfly Swarm, but I just don't think I even... Actually, maybe I do care about that because Waterbender Ascension could get pretty nasty. I suppose I could... So this has Ward 1. I could play the Dragonfly Swarm just as a blocker, but I kind of like the idea of killing their Dragonfly Swarm if possible, then playing my own Dragonfly Swarm. If they counter it, I'm not too concerned because they don't have a creature that's getting in any longer. And this way, if they do kill, if it resolves and then they kill it, I do get to draw a card because I just put a lesson in the graveyard. Plus, if they're spending removal on Dragonfly Swarm, that's a piece of removal that is not hitting Avatar Kuruk. Oh, that card is really nasty. When it and at least one other creature attack, they get to draw a card. Really, really nasty. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and cast some spells now because that's what my cards want me to do. And by the way, that's also what I like to do just as a person in this life. I love casting spells. You cannot quench me. I don't think you have quench. I think they're getting priority because they could waterbend 4. I could lock down the first time flyer, but I just don't really feel a strong motivation to do that. I guess I'll attack with Dragonfly Swarm alone. Actually, this does get them a counter. I don't think that matters. Well, actually, do I just want the 1/1? There's Iroh's Demonstration. I don't think there are many other board wipes. Nah, let's crack our clue. I'd like to get some value here. If they kill Avatar Kuruk and I didn't get the last 1/1 out of it, you know, oh well. I don't really get the impression that they have tons of gas in their hand from the way that they've been playing the last few turns. So they do get to attack me. But now my idea is I'm just going to Watery Grasp that guy and keep it locked down. See what this last card is. Dragonfly Swarm, Iroh's Demonstration, Soka. Waterbender Ascension. They've drawn a lot of lands, haven't they? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to 3, 4, 5. Oh, that's annoying. Yeah, that's annoying. That annoys me. So I could have gotten an extra 1/1. I think that's okay. I think we'll be okay. Oof. That's not what I love to see. Oh, Union Archers is kind of interesting. I'll do that first because it does let me throw away one of my islands and try to find something better. Okay, well, that's not better than an island. That's pretty much exactly as good as an island. So I will Watery Grasp that guy because you might think the Union Archers, which has reach, could block that down profitably. The issue with that is that Waterbender Ascension can make it unblockable. All right, we got there. Okay, I'd say, you know what? Short and sweet. I showed you what you need to know about Avatar. I'll go play out the rest of these games on my own. But let's do a quick deck tech. I mean, basically what we saw was the mana was pretty good, although we did get Hakoda stuck in our hand at one point. Legend of Kuruk was absolutely busted. Angswift Savior was absolutely busted. We didn't get to see the glory of Spirit Water Revival. Cards that just shine every single time you see them. Firebending Lesson, Iroh's Demonstration, Forecasting Fortune Teller. I didn't draw Quench, but I would have loved to have that in some of my openers. Watery Grasp did so much work for us. And Union Archers was pretty nice as well. So that goes to show you basically what this format is about. I hope you have a lot of fun with it if you do decide to jump into the Avatar Mines. But after this, I'm going to go back to Secrets of Strixhaven, especially because there is a limited championship qualifier on the weekend. And I'm going to be playing as much of that as I possibly can. So this was a fun little diversion, but tomorrow it is back to Secrets of Strixhaven for sure. So until tomorrow, have tons of fun playing Magic and don't be afraid to splash.